In this lesson, we're going to pick up from where we left in our last assignment, which is we created a game with some play, with some movement, some controls, and some scorekeeping. At this point, we're going to take it to another level yet. We're going to create an opening screen to start the game off. So we're going to do some UI display. And we'll also do an end screen, if you will, for when the player reaches the trophy. It's going to go to a win screen. And on that screen, we're going to have a button that can restart the game all over again and take us back to the beginning and launch the game and initialize a new game. So with that, we're going to create screen transitions. One based on a button press. Of course, when we start the game, that'll be based on the button press. And then the other one will be based on contact with the trophy. So that's a collision. So we're going to make a scene change based on a button press and then another scene change based on a collision, which is very typical in gameplay. As well as that, we are going to add some touchscreen controls to take into consideration those who are going to be using it on a phone or a possibly a tablet. And then finally, I saved this till the end because it can be a little annoying listening to all the sounds, but we're definitely going to apply some sound. We're going to do two kinds of situations. One, again, based on a collision. So when we pick up our collectibles, you'll hear that sort of ring collectible sound. And we're going to add some background music. So with that, let me give you a demonstration on a finished version here. And then we'll start with our existing files. I'm just going to open this up to be much larger. So you can hear some background music right away when we initiate the game, and this is my opening screen. We're not going to do this. I did some custom graphics in Photoshop. I think I'll take you to a website that can make quick logos, and we'll add a generic background. But here we go. Oh yes, I'll also add instructions as a text element. So we click here, and that's a scene change. So that takes us to our game, our main game. Now, I'm using my controls on the screen, but if you look at the bottom here, these are meant for touchscreen. They will also respond to the mouse click, as you can see here. And they have a click graphic, right? So when they are clicked or pressed, the graphic does change with the blue circle. Okay, I'm going to use my keyboard, which is my arrows and my space bar. But there is the collectible sound. And of course you hear the background music playing throughout. Okay. Oh, I didn't mention this, but this will also be a scene change button. And that brings us back to the home page. Start game. So why don't I just quickly run through the course here. As quick as I can with my limited game playing abilities. Here we go. Alright. Jumping across here. You can see the points accumulating, which is what we did in our last class. Alright, so when I touch that trophy at the end there, it's going to transition to the winner screen. So let me just kind of run off the edge here and get ready. Here we go. A little sound as well to applaud the player for reaching it to the end. And here's that restart button that I was talking about right here. So that's what we're going to work on today. And let me just close this. Alright, so I'm going to quit out of this existing sample and go back to my project as it stood from last week. So I'm going to quit the project list. And here it comes. And okay, I'll launch the file from last week and we'll get to add all of those elements that I just spoken about. Okay, let me just reset this window to fit my capture software. There we go. And I find sometimes it's a little weird. It might just be my computer, but sometimes I don't see the graphics unless I kind of switch away on my tabs and switch back. But there you have it, computers. I'm just reducing my view here and moving it around, but what we have left off with was a full sort of game environment with platforms created with the tile map layer. We created some collectibles as separate scenes, and they are animated, and they do have collisions, so that when we collide with the main player here, it will add 1 to the point score. And the objective is to get to the end of the line here, get through all of these, and then collect the trophy. So what will happen is when we collect the trophy, it will trigger a scene change. where we go to the windscreen. And before this game even initiates or starts, we're going to actually create another new scene as our opening scene, if you will, as our starts page. And it will have a button that will launch us to this scene and initiate the movie. As well as that, again, we will be adding sound, and we'll save the sound to the end. Okay, so as far as the opening screen goes, I actually am going to get you to follow me, and we're going to create a unique logo on this nice little website that I found. I'm just going to tab over to my browser, and I'm going to close this ad. But the website address is cooltext.com, COOLTEXT.com. It's a nice little place to make simple graphics. I say simple, but yet they are fancy, but they're meant as titles and headlines and things, customized. So I'm going to go in here and create one for my opening page, and then I'll add a background with another graphic and repeated tile background, if you will. So you can pick all the styles as you see here. I think I'll start maybe with this one called Ozone. And the way it works is you just type in your text and you click Create Logo. You have different parameters that you can set for it, right? And I'll play with some of those, but I invite you to explore them on your own time. And I'm going to start with Loyalist. Now, one thing I found with this, and it might just be because I'm not that well versed in it, but I found that I can't center my text, but I can use the composite feature to add more text. So, and then I can move it around the screen. So that pretty well addresses that issue anyway. So I'm going to go create logo with the word Loyalist, and I'll do a part 2 here once I create the logo. Okay, I can go back to edit, just close this little ad here, and let's see here, composite, add logo. So this time I'll use a different font. I'll use this Keen, and let's just type in Game 1. I do have my caps lock on here, Game 1. Okay, now with this, I can move that around, as you can see here. I can resize it. I can do a bunch of things with it as a unique separate element. But I'm just going to go like this, and I think we'll create that logo, and we're going to save it in our art folder. So you do need to know where your directory is for your game. So when I click Create, that's what I'm going to get. And if I don't like it, I can always come back and do another one and change it. But let's click Download here. And let me just go, I know it's in my Documents folder. I have a folder called Godot Ouellette. And it's in here. This is my current folder that I'm working on. And there's my art folder. So why don't I just drop it straight in there? And I'm going to give it a special name. I'm not going to run with this generic generated name. I'm just going to call it what it is. Loyalist _ game _ 1. Okay, .png. And save that, and I'm good to go here unless I want to come back and make some changes. So I'll leave it open, but I'm going to switch back to Godot. And if I open my art folder, because I saved it directly into that folder, it should be there. And there it is right there. Okay, so that's creating a graphic logo. You could have done it in Photoshop. I just found that that website was nice and elegant and very quick. So we'll go on to the next step now, and we'll actually create a new scene and create our opening start page, if you will. Okay, so let's create that new scene. I'm going to right click on the file system folder here, create new scene, and we're just going to use the generic node, and I'll call it main menu. I'll just uppercase the second M, main menu. Oh, let me turn off my caps lock and do that again. Main menu. Okay, and that's what it'll be called. All right, and that's just unique on its own right now, and it's empty, but there is our work area. Okay, so we're going to add a node here. I think I'm going to add the graphics, so I will go up here and I'll add a child node, texture rect. Okay, and we can actually create a texture with that. So let's see here. I guess we will apply, I'm going to open this up a bit. We will apply the graphic, Loyalist game. So I'm going to drag that over into the texture empty box under my inspector here, and there we go. And that can be sized accordingly. Let me just undo that so that when I resize, I hold my shift key down. But basically, there we go. So I'll just put that about there. You know what? I'm going to actually center that. So anchor preset, center. And then with my shift key down, I'm just going to drag it up a bit from there. Okay. Let's add a background as well. So let me add a second texture rect. Main menu, add child node, texture rect. And in there, I'm going to use one of my background chips, if you will. So in my art folder, let's see. I may need to go out and grab one. So let me go out to my folder here and let's see here. Tile sets. Okay, backgrounds. And I think I will implement, let me pick here. Maybe we'll go with pink. Actually, I'll go with the brown, I think. I'll grab that. I'll actually drag them both into my art folder here. And then I can have some options. And why don't we grab the purple as well? Not saying I'm going to use it, but I might. Okay, there we go. So for this second texture rect, which will be the background, let's, I guess I'll start with, maybe I'll start with the purple. I'll try the purple. We'll drag that in there. I'm going to fill the area with my anchor preset. And I'm going to change it so that it doesn't scale, it tiles. And then just to, well, with this, they're squares. It's not really an issue. But if there was some blurriness, I would go to texture, switch from inherit to nearest. Okay, and that would sharpen any diagonal or circular patterns, if you will. Okay, now the problem here, though, is it's covering up my logo. So we can literally just change the stacking order like that. And there we go. Okay. You know what? I'm not so sure I love that background. Why don't I try a different one really fast here? Yeah, I think I'm going to go with that one. Okay. Now, let's just save that. And we're going to add a button. So I'll go back up to main menu. And add the child. And I'll type in buttons. Button, okay, just use the regular generic button right there. And I'm going to, I guess I can zoom up a bit on this as well. And I'm just going to put that in there. Put that there for now. And I think I'll add a child actor to that button. Actually, you know what? I won't. I'll just leave it as is. But we will type in start game. Okay, I will modify that a bit. So to modify my text, I'm going to go to my theme overrides. I'll leave it as white, I think, on the translucent black background, but I will change the font size. And I'll probably bring it up to about a 30. And there we go. Okay, so there's a button. Now let's rename this button by double-clicking it to highlight, and I'm going to call it Start Game. Start Game. Okay, so now it has a unique name. As well, I actually want to make this main menu as my initial scene when the game launches, because if I click play right now, it goes to the game and not to this scene. Right? So we want it to actually start on this scene. So the way we do that is I'm just going to close my art folder here and right click on that main menu and go set as main scene. Okay, definitely save all of that. Save scene. Okay, and let's try that again. Okay, so now you can see it starts on that scene. Now we still need to plug in the button. But we are good to go as far as the sequence of what's going to play when the movie gets launched, or rather the game gets launched. So to wire up this button, we're going to need a script, and we will be using signals to indicate when the button gets pressed, and then we'll give it some commands to change scenes, and I'll share that code with you once we get to the code section. So let's start by selecting the main menu, the parent here, and adding a script. And I'm just going to click Create. And we're not going to need these two functions right now, so I think I'm just going to get rid of those. But we will need to go to Signal, so let's highlight the button called Start Game and go over to our node, and we're going to say Pressed. So double click on Pressed and then add that to the script here. And that starts with the function on start game underscore press. So we're going to replace pass with the following code. And this is the syntax on how to change scenes. I'm just going to basically dictate it, but it's called get underscore tree. And then there's empty brackets. You can see it here actually. And then dot change scene to file. Change scene to file. Again, it comes up with my hints, which is very nice. And inside of this prompted brackets here, you literally can drag the desired scene to there. And that's what I suggest doing versus typing it in. So the scene we want to go to is our main scene. So I'm going to grab main scene and drag it up into there. And it will establish the pathway right there. Okay, that should do it. Let's just save everything here and give this a test. Okay, here we go. Start game. And there we are. Okay. And that's how you plug in a scene change. Now, I will ultimately put a button here. Maybe we'll do that next, actually, so a button that can get us directly back to the start screen no matter what. That will need to go into our main movie. So we'll basically reproduce what we just did here. Okay? Okay, so let's go back to our main scene and we will add a button and plug it in. So right here, I'm back to my main node. I'm going to put it in the UI panel so that it always remains on screen in this consistent spot. So it will be kind of protected inside of this canvas layer, if you will. So I'm going to highlight canvas layer and then add a button. Button. We'll click on that. And let's see here. I'll just kind of set that up. Try to make it the same size. I could go into my figures and calculate the size or copy paste the sizes, but I think I'm going to go by eye here. And let's go back to my inspector, and I'm just going to go here and say, I'll just call this the home button, home. Okay, and let's just resize that as well. So we'll go down to our theme overrides here. Down to font sizes and check that. I'll make it the same size, up to 30. I'll change the background color, I think, but let's just do this for now, 30. Okay. And I'm going to decorate a bit further by changing the background color, as I said. So that's done down in styles. I'm just going to collapse the font sizes here in my themes override and go down to styles. And if you look there, these are what are known as button states, basically. So I'm going to go to the normal state and we'll set that. So when there's no engagement with the button, that's what it'll look like. And I can set a mouse over on hover, and maybe we'll do that as well, just to give it a little fanciness, if you will. So I'm going to click here, though, on normal and new style box flat, meaning flat color. And if I scroll up, I have some parameters for the colors. I will click on the color chip. Some of it's appearing outside of my capture area, but basically let's just set that up to something fancy here, and I think I can live with that, so I'm going to go with that. And maybe for my hover, maybe we can make it get a little darker yet. So let's go over to hover, new flat box style, and the nice thing is it imitates that color, so I can edit that color from here. You can't see it, but I'm pulling my slider to make it darker, like that. So when I hover, the background will get a little darker. I'll hit my return key to accept that. Okay, so I've got two states addressed here. If I collapse this here, we've got the normal state and the hover state. Okay, so I'm going to collapse that as well and give that a quick test movie, or rather test game. I keep saying movie. So all right, so let's start the game up here. And there we go. Now we haven't plugged it in yet. And I can see that my hover is getting lighter, so let me maybe check on that. But it is there and it is engaged. So let's just go back in here, styles, hover. Oh, I guess I didn't accept it for some reason, so let's just try that again. I'll drag that over there, which is where it was, and then you can't see me dragging the darkness slider down, but there it is there. And if I hit enter, maybe because I didn't save my scene actually. Let's just go save scene and we'll try that one more time. Run project. There we go. Okay, so it starts purple. It gets a little darker. If you want to change that, you can change that. I'm going to get fussy. I am going to change it. I'm going to actually make it lighter. So again, you can't see my slider, but I'm making things lighter here. Okay, hit my return key to accept that brighter color, lighter, brighter color. Save my scene, and one more test here just to check on those colors for that mouse over. There, I actually prefer that. Okay, so when that is clicked, it should send us back to the home. It doesn't yet, but it will when we're finished here. So I've already saved it. Let's rig up a node, a signal for the home button now. So actually I'm going to rename this button. Call it home. All lowercase, I guess. And we'll go over to our nodes. Actually, you know what? I need to put a script in my root node here. So highlight the root node, insert a script, click create. And again, we're not going to need this. I think I'll leave that in for now. Actually, I'm going to need it later. So I'm just going to return down here. And we'll highlight our home button. Go over to my node panel and double click on pressed, meaning when the button gets pressed. And yes, I do want it to go into this script here. There we go. So now we will just again insert that change scene code. So it was get tree, get underscore tree. And I can double click on my code hints and then dot. And then once again, change scene. Change scene to file. Okay, and inside of the brackets here, I'm going to drag the file, and that would have been my main menu.tscn. So I'm going to drag that into the brackets here. All right, so that's the pathway. So when this button gets clicked, it should send me back to that menu, that particular scene. So let's save the scene. Start the movie up here. Click in here, and this button should get me back to there. There we go. We've got a roundhouse navigation. So we're going to do something similar. We're going to attach it to the trophy, but we're going to make it so that it happens on a collision versus on a mouse click. Same concept, just a different event will trigger it. Okay, we're doing well here. So we will need to make a new scene for our victory page, if you will. So I'm just going to go back to the inspector here, and I'm just going to right click on my main project folder, create new folder. No, not new folder, new scene. And again, I'm going to use the generic node. Scene name, we're just going to call it winner. Okay, and click OK. And in there, we will create some graphics and a button to get back to the main start screen, if you will. So I'm going to start with another rect, texture rect. Forgot the name there for a second, texture rect. And in that, let's start, I guess we'll just start with a pattern background. We'll sort of start from the background forward. So in that, I do have some backgrounds here I downloaded. So let's try maybe, I don't know, I guess purple. Actually, we'll go with the pink. No, we'll go with the purple. Hard decisions. Okay, we'll drag that in there. Let me go to my screen view. And I'm going to zoom up here a bit, move it around. Now again, I want that to fill the screen as a pattern. So we're going to go up to our anchor presets, full rect, and right now it's on set to stretch, so under layout, not under layout, sorry, under the texture rect stretch mode, change it from scale to tile. Okay, and again, if it's an issue with respect to blurriness, go down to texture and change filter to nearest. Okay. So there, I'm just going to put some text on top of that. So I'm going to highlight this again. I'm going to add another node, and this one will just be a label. Just be a big label that says you win or something like that. Okay, Let's just make that big, and you know what? I'll actually center it using the anchor preset. Okay, and then in here, I'm just going to say you win, couple of exclamation marks, and we will center that, center horizontal, center vertical, and of course I'm going to make the text very large. So we're going to go down to our theme override, font sizes, and I'm just going to type this in. I'm going to say 56. We'll see what that does. Actually, you know what? Let's go 120. See what that does. 120. Okay, that's a little more celebratory, if that's a good word. Anyhow, there you go. You win. And if I want to add some features to it, I could, I suppose. I'm just going to leave it like that, though. So there's you win. You know what? Let's change the color. Okay. Font color. Make it a nice rich red. There we go. Okay, I'll hit my return key to accept that. And we're going to add a button here. So I'm going to go back up to that main node, add child, button. Okay. Again, I'm going to stretch the size of that out. I will center it using my anchor presets. And then I can drag it down a little bit with my shift key. And we'll just call this play again. Play again. It's a lot better. Okay. And again, I am going to make that bigger through my theme overrides. Font sizes. I'll just type in 30. There we go. And I'm just going to leave that with its generic settings. If you want to play with colors and backgrounds and so on, I do invite you to explore some of those features. But for now, for functionality, it's good to go. I'm just going to save my scene at this point. And we will need to put a script in the parent. So I'm going to click on Winner, add a script, create. And again, we probably don't need that stuff there, but I'm going to leave it there. And I'm just going to come down lower here, and we're going to go to our button. And I'm going to call it play again. Okay. And then go over in my nodes. We're going to add a signal if this button gets pressed. So I'm going to attach that to this script. And then we're going to replace this line. Once again, with the code get tree, get underscore tree. And then dot change scene to file. And in here, I'm going to drag that initial main menu scene. So let me just close the art folder to make it a little easier. Main menu, and I'll drag that into that set of brackets right there. So there's the pathway. Let's save that, and we'll give that a test. Actually, we can't test it yet. We need to plug in the trophy to get us here. But this scene now is done, ready and waiting to be jumped to, if you will. So let's save that, and we'll go back to our main scene. Okay. So let's click on here, and I'm going to highlight the trophy. And with the trophy highlighted, we're going to add a new script to the trophy as well here. And this is to detect the collision, and then to set an action based on that collision. So let's see here. Okay, create. All right, and in there we will now add a signal. So let's go over to node. Select the trophy again, go over to node, and it's under the body entered node, signal, sorry, body entered. And let's put that inside of trophy. Okay. On body entered, we will put in the change scene. So it's called get tree. Start, and then we put a dot, and then it's change scene to file, and then I will go down here and drag. So it's the winner screen we want to go to. So we grab the winner. TSCN right there. Let me just adjust my window a little. Here we go. Okay, and that should work. Let's just go back to our 2D scene. I anticipate an issue, but I'm not going to tell you what it is till I run the movie here. Okay, so when I start the game, ooh, it goes straight to the You Win screen. I was anticipating this, but I wanted you to see it. So there's an issue here. We had run into this issue earlier on when we were creating the collectibles, and it has to do with the trophy actually coming into contact with the surface. So there is already a collision upon coming into the scene. One fix would be to raise the trophy so that it's not touching anything. I'm going to show you a better solution, but let's do that as solution number one. Okay, when I run the movie once more here, or run the game rather, I'll have to kind of get my guy over to the trophy. You notice though that it's not skipping to the scene, so we have remedied that issue. And that's because the trophy is not colliding with anything. Because right now it's just like a generic collision, and we want to be more specific. But for now, I just want to show you that it will work when it collides. So, that could be your cheap solution, but to be more accurate, I guess, and more sophisticated, really let's go to our scripts here, and we're going to add an if statement to set a condition for this command, okay, for this action. So I'm just going to click here and return down to this next line and add an if statement. So if space body dot name space equals, which is like saying that is the same as, and I'll put the name of the character in quote marks. It happens to be character body 2D, and has to be spelt exactly the same, of course. 2D, and at the end of that statement, that if statement should be a colon, and this should be indented, which it is. That should be good to go there. There's no redness. I'm just going to save everything here and do a quick test. Let's quickly go back to our scene though. And yeah, sometimes my computer doesn't like to display, so I just got to click on another tab and come back. You see my trophy is sort of sitting on the surface, so there is a collision immediately, but we have specified that it will only respond to a collision with our character body 2D element. So let's hit play and just ensure that that will work. Okay, so when I click the start game, it shouldn't automatically jump to the winner screen anymore. And it's not, so that's a good sign. So let's just take this to the end of the road here and see if it does trigger it when we do have a collision. Okay, and here we go. There we have it, success. All right, so the game is working well here with respect to our different scenes. We are changing scenes. Play again brings us back to our initial scene. Start game actually brings us here. This button brings us back to the home screen. And then when we reach the end of the game, based on a collision, we are again triggering a scene change. So let me just get over there really fast. And I think the next step we'll do is we're going to actually implement sound. So we'll create a sound for collecting the cherries. Maybe we'll start there, and then we'll throw in some background music. Okay, so let me close this now. Now to create sound, we're going to use a node called Audio Player. So I'm going to add a couple of Audio Player nodes right to the main node here in my main scene. So I'm just going to go plus here, and Audio Stream Player. It's called Audio Stream Player, and inside of there we attach, I'll go to my inspector, we attach the stream. So I'm going to have to grab those. I don't think I have them loaded yet in here. I don't believe I have any sound files yet. No, so I'm going to just go out to my desktop. I already have a folder with some sounds. Here's the pickup sound. So we'll use that for the coins. And we'll use this as our background theme music. And I'll use this for the windscreen. Okay, so I'll grab those 3 audio files here with my control key down. I can select them all at once. And let's see, I guess I can put them in the art folder as well. I should have maybe just called it assets, but there you have it. So now that those are in there, let's go back up to our audio stream player. And we'll start with the pickup sound. So let's just go find that, pick up coins, drag that into there. Okay, and the way we do that is I'm going to go back to the cherries, into the script, and we're going to add that sound. So I'm just going to put it in here. I'm going to just come down below here, and the way we can do that is I will go back to my main scene here, and then call up the cherries code here, and drag in that audio element. So audio stream right here, and I can name it. I guess I'll name it beforehand. I'll call it pick up sound. Okay. Just so you'll recognize it in your code a little easier. So what we do is we just drag that in here, and then we go dot play, and the syntax is with the empty brackets, dot play. So it will establish the pathway. I am taking it from the root node and burying it inside of this movie, but let's just save that and see if that works. Save scene. So we're saying on body entered with the cherries, it will make a sound, it will disappear, and it will add 1 to the points. So we're doing 3 things with the 1 collision with the cherries, if this works. Okay, so let's just go here. There we go. There we go. Okay. Now you can set the volume. So if I close that up here, you can see volume right here, right? So if I find that's a little loud, maybe I'll bring it down to -8. Just give that another quick test here. All right, I'm going to leave it at 8. All right, so that's how you attach sound to an action. In this case, the action's already established. We're just adding another real element of playback, if you will. So we've got 3 things happening now and not body entered. So let's do a generic background sound now. So I will click on the node here and add another new audio stream player, and I'll call this one background sound. Okay, or background music. There we go, background music. Okay. I'm just going to add the asset for the streaming, which was, where is it here? Mimbus theme or midbus theme, whatever it's called. All right, and we'll set that volume, I guess, down to like -8 as well, or so. Why don't I just type that in, -8. Okay, and we'll apply that to when the movie starts. So I'm going to go back up to my main node. And let's see here, I'll click on main right here. And I'll actually put it here. Function underscore ready means when the movie starts. So I'm going to replace this line. So I'll just delete that, and we'll drag in that background music node and then add dot play. Fingers crossed that will play the music when the movie starts. Let's just save that and give that a test. So once we jump to the game, there we go. And again, if you want to adjust the volume, it's just in the inspector. So that's the basics of sound. One triggered from a collision, and one just triggered when the movie starts. And there we go. So I'll apply one to this you win scene as well. Let's go to the you win scene. Okay, so that, again, just call up the you win scene here. I have it up here, the winner scene. Okay, and there is my scene tree, and I need to add an audio component in here. And you can see I was around with things before. I'm just going to delete that. That's where it will go. Function underscore ready means, again, when this scene starts. So let's add another new child actor here in the winner scene, and audio stream player. And I believe I already have the thing called important item in my library right here. I'm going to drag that to there. And now let's apply that. I'll actually call this stream player you win. Okay, and we'll drag that into our script here, making sure it's the winner script. And it did automatically indent, and I just have to type in dot play. Cross my fingers, I guess. I'm going to save my file here, and let's give this a really fast test. Okay. There we go. All right. And that's it pretty well. You can add sound if you want to add sound to that opening scene as well. Music, maybe some subtle music, that would be all right too. But for here, we're good. Let me just go, and I actually thought that my background music was a little low. So I'm going to go to my main. And I'll go to my background music here, and I'm just going to set that volume. Actually, let's just set it to -1 here. Okay, save that. And the last thing I'm going to do is just actually put text label on that opening scene. So let's go into, let's see here, main menu, 2D. And down here, I'm going to get you to put your full name, and we might as well put some basic instructions. So maybe put your name up here. So let's add a label. Label. Okay, I'm going to call it my name. And then we're going to just apply that label to the scene here. So I'm just going to bring that over here, and this is where you'll put your first and last name. All right, I do want you to center it, format it. Make it bigger than the basic size here, so theme overrides. I'd say make it about 30 or bigger. Font sizes, font size, I'm just going to type in 30, see how that feels, and I'm good. I'm just going to put it a little higher on the top here. And at the bottom, I'm going to add one more label. Label. And in this one, I'm going to put it at the bottom. This will be my basic instructions, so I'm going to say left and right arrows to move, and then below that, spacebar to jump. Okay, and I'll just center that. Actually, center it in here. Center, okay, and I will also make that a little bigger, easier to read. Theme overrides, font sizes, maybe I'll make that like 20, and maybe we'll make it black. Theme overrides, okay, colors, there we go. Save scene. I'll run it one more time, but if you've got all that, we are good to go, and that is the assignment that you will hand in for today, which covered scene changes, sounds, working with the UI, triggering scene changes, creating new scenes, and so on, bringing this to a whole nother level. Okay, so quickly play this back. And as I had mentioned, if you want to add music to this opening splash screen, feel free. Okay, so I'm just going to try my button here, back, and get myself over to the windscreen as soon as I can here. So the sound really adds to it. It was nice that it was fairly easy to do, but it really adds another dimension. Okay, and there we go. So zip that up again. Let me just show you here. Go, because this is my fourth in a series here, 0xxxx. Save that as a zip. It's actually great to save it as these zip files, because that's a good way to archive your projects in their current state as well. Save that, and we are good to go. Hand that into Canvas. And that is your assignment for today.